Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. For some reason, I'm having some trouble keeping my new camera online, so bear with me. If you can hear my voice, throw a one in the chat. At least let me know that you guys can hear me, even though you can't see me. I'll make myself visible here as fast as possible. I think I'm just gonna have to get rid of the new camera for some reason. I don't know why it doesn't want to appear to work, but let's go to the old webcam and start the camera and see what happens here. Yeah, there we go. All right, so now you can see me, and let's see. Boom, that's better than nothing, folks. Sorry for the delay. Sorry for the old camera back in action today. That was weird. Right towards the end of the 10-minute countdown timer, my other camera went offline. I managed to get it fixed once, and then literally seconds before the timer went to zero, it just went kaput on me again. So we're just going to use the webcam today. And good afternoon, good morning, good evening, all that fun stuff. Happy New Year's to those of you that are living, on the other side of the pond. I haven't seen Pablo here today, but if old Pablo Noodles is around, gonna be, New Year's for him pretty soon. Daniel, I know that it's not that far from New Year's for you. And obviously, even those of us that are here in the States, just have a handful of hours. So, man, I'm not going to miss 2024, partially because I'm so incredibly excited for 2025 and everything that I believe is coming our way in 2025. I got to admit, man, I was looking forward to 2023 being over with, man. 2023 was probably, I don't know if I would call it the worst year of my adult life, but it was probably the worst year of my adult life. But God was right there with me. I learned a lot of incredible lessons. God molded me into a better man, into a better person, into a more intelligent investor. And so a lot of the lessons that I learned in 2023, I needed to learn. And so I'm grateful for 2023 from that standpoint. But man, I was sure looking forward to 2024. And 2024 hasn't disappointed. I mean, what an incredible year we've had so far. The beginning of the year, we had the massive run up, Bitcoin hitting new all-time highs way earlier in the cycle than we expected. And then it's not that much of a surprise that we had the downtime from, about April until November. But then obviously since November, it's been pretty incredible again. The one thing about what we've seen so far is a lot of the altcoins haven't responded anywhere near as well as Bitcoin has. But we have had, some big run-ups, for people that were excited about Ripple XRP and that has, slowly been buying and dollar cost averaging and putting their money, into Ripple. I mean, there was a lot of time over the last few years where you could be buying Ripple at 25, 30, 35 cents, even, 45 or 50 cents for long time. So those people, have been able to see a 4 or 5x. People that never gave up on XLM, you could have been buying XLM at 6, 7, 8 cents, 10 cents, 12 cents for years. And it popped up, over 50 cents not too long ago. It's back down to 30 cents or whatever right now. Solana, I was on around the blockchain back in 2022, I believe it was late 2022, maybe early 2023, when Solana was down at $7 or $8. And I was quoted, on that show saying that right now is the time to buy Solana while there's blood in the streets, that Solana is going to make a comeback. There was 4 of us on that show, and I was the only one with that opinion. The other 3 people thought Solana was dying and that it wasn't gonna ever come back to its former glory. And so, that was an exciting episode for me. In fact, I saw Joshua from Discover Crypto at the Bitcoin 2024 conference. And then Mr. Diamandi, Nick Diamandi came up to me at a after party for Discover Crypto. Nick Diamandi came up to me and said, "Man, I'll never forget that that call that you made on Solana and how right you were. So if you were getting into Solana at $7, $10, $15, $20, it's already been a pretty incredible market for a lot of us, and it's just gonna get better." Folks, for those of you that are new to the channel, thank you for tuning in. My name is Brad Varnell. This is the Infinite Crypto YouTube channel, and this is Trader Tuesdays. And so this is a new segment that we interviewed. This is a new segment that we put into place over the last month or so, 2 months, because I wanted to give my viewers another way to win. I think that the more tools that you can have in your tool belt, the more of an opportunity that you have to win, not only in cryptocurrency, but just in finances in itself. For instance, like if you're a stock guy, if you're coming from the stock market and you're just a guy that buys stocks, that's great. And you're probably going to make some money if you pick the right stocks. You're going to do all right in the stock market. But what's really cool about stocks is if you decide, to learn a little bit more, and if you're a stock guy and all of a sudden you incorporate, say, covered calls into your arsenal. Well, now, that's a strategy where if you own the stock, you can do what's called a covered call. And that basically is a way for you to create income from your stock on, every couple of weeks to a monthly basis by doing covered calls. Same thing with, if you are in the stock market and you want to trade with leverage, you can do stock options. And I think that every little thing that you add to your arsenal like that is perfect. So with crypto, we've got the best strategy, in my humble opinion, is the buy and hold. Dollar cost average, buy, hold, think long term. Be accumulating tokens during the bear market, and then take your profits during the bull market. It's almost sounds too easy, and in some ways it is, and most people try to complicate it and screw it all up. I've got a good friend, and he's a doctor, so he makes a lot of money. So not everybody could do what he does. Yet everybody can do what he does. So he was showing me the other day. He said, "What do you think about this, Brad?" And he showed me a list of tokens. And he had, I think it was Solana, XRP, Cardano, maybe like Cosmos, Atom, Polkadot. He had 4, 5, 6 tokens. And, it was like $60 here, $40 there, $75 here, $80 there. Long story short, it ended up adding up to about $300 or so a day that he was dollar cost averaging into these tokens right on Coinbase. So he went into Coinbase and he just set up an automatic purchase every single day. I think it was, I don't know if it was 5 days a week, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. And obviously $300 a day times 30 days is $9 grand. So he's putting, 10 grand a month into these cryptos. But every one of these cryptos that he's been and he's been doing it now for a couple of years. And so, it doesn't sound sexy, and you really don't need me. You don't need to watch my channel every day to do this strategy. But I'm telling you, folks, if you want to be just filthy rich, by the time 2030 rolls around, like if you're not impatient, you got some time, you don't mind a little bit slower path, then go get a Coinbase account if you can, and then just do what he does on a smaller scale. Instead of doing, $300 a day, do $25 a day. I mean, that's still, yes, $25 is $750 a month, 25 times 30. Come on, Kat. I know you want to jump down. Let's go. Get it over with. Thank you. Yeah, here's my Maverick. Yeah, she's like my little Black Panther. She got that pure black face, and look at those pretty green eyes. Yeah, you got the most beautiful green eyes, don't you? Yeah. So That is such an incredible strategy, folks. He never worries about the price. He doesn't care if it's up today, down tomorrow, up the next day. He doesn't care. He just literally set it and forget it. And you can do that on a weekly or bi-weekly or monthly schedule too. So, it's a little bit different for everybody, but what an incredible way for people to change their future. We were talking yesterday on the Monday live stream, the Crypto Mastery Mindset live stream. We were talking about that one of the most important financial things that you can do in your life is to get in the habit of paying yourself first and saving a minimum of 10% of every dollar that you make is one of the number one things that you need to start doing in order to get onto the path of financial freedom. So now this is a trading show. And obviously what I've been talking about there with the dollar cost averaging isn't what we're here for today. But I believe that everybody should, I hate to use the word everybody. Everybody shouldn't do anything necessarily, but I believe that most people would be better off if they set up an automatic schedule like that, picked out a handful of tokens. I mean, you can get Aerodrome on Coinbase. You can get a lot of tokens on Coinbase that aren't necessarily, just the chain links and the polka dots and the Ethereums and the Bitcoins, but even Ethereum and Bitcoin, I'm seriously revisiting my Bitcoin strategy, because if I go back over my last 5, 6, 7 years of investing, and I look at, if I were to put every dollar that I've ever invested into crypto and just put it into Bitcoin versus all of these different altcoins and all of these other little, things that I've done, I'm not sure that I've made enough more money to warrant not really the stress of it, but all of the work that comes with it. Now, that's, with all of the private sales and the different things that have come through for me, that's not totally true. Like, I've definitely made a lot more money than had I just put it into Bitcoin. But at the same time, I remember, at one point in time, I owned almost 100 Ethereum back in I guess it was 2020. Yeah, late 19, early 2020, I was accumulating Ethereum, and I had about 100 Ethereum. And I think I started buying Ethereum at about $275 a token. And then it went down to like $2.25. So I bought some more, and then it went down to 150, and I bought some more. And then when we had that flash crash in March of 2020, it dipped all the way down to $75. And I literally, unfortunately, I didn't have any money on the sidelines. I wasn't ready for that crash. In fact, I had some money sitting in Nexo that I'd leveraged. I'd borrowed against it, and I actually had some of my Ethereum get liquidated that day. But long story short, I was looking at that investment, that 90 Ethereum during the peak of last bull market would have been worth, 4,500 times 90. So 4 times 9 is 36. So 360,000. And then 500 times 90 is another, 45,000. So it would have been worth about a $400,000 bill. And I ended up doing better than that long term, but it took me a lot longer to get there, because I took that 90 Ethereum and I started selling it, and I started buying these more speculative altcoins. And I'll never forget, I have one that is the Ascendix exchange token. Back then, I forget the name of it. It wasn't Ascendix, but long story short, I owned probably easy 1 million of those tokens. But the thing tanked. I mean, it was awful. It went from 4 cents down to fractions of a cent. And long story short, I got impatient, and I felt like I was running out of time. I needed to do something else. I know I sold that at an extreme loss. And I really thought that project was done for. It was gone out of business. Unfortunately for me, it came back strong during the last bull market, and I think it ran up to a $1, $2, $3 token. So had I had the ability to just stay in that token for another couple of years, I probably, would have done extremely well, which we're still going to get to some trading here pretty soon. But that leads me to one of the other things that I really want to help you guys do, and that is stay in your tokens long term. One of the worst things you can do is be in this token today. A month from now, 2 months from now, it hasn't done what you thought it would do. Maybe it's even down a little bit. Now you see this token over here is doing amazing things. You want to rush over to this token. And so you sell this token, you go buy this token, and it's just inevitable that this token, as soon as you sell it, will start going up. I mean, I know that that's not necessarily possible, but it'll seem like that. Then a lot of times, this token that you bought will settle down. It's already gone up 50, 75, 100, 200%, and now it starts to come back down to earth. And you can literally take, a $10,000 position that now it's worth $8,000 and you're tired of waiting on it. So you sell it for $8,000. Now you're stuck $2,000. You move it over to this position and this position goes underwater. And the next thing you know, you got 6,500 and you move it to the third position. And then, finally, by the time the things ran all the way down to about $2,000 or $3,000, you find a winner. And it pops back up, and all of a sudden, you got 15 or 20 grand, and you're thinking, okay, that's not bad. I made, 50%, 100% of my money. But in the meantime, if you'd have just left the 10 grand sitting in this one token, it's now up, 5 or 10x, and you'd have 50 or 100 grand instead of 15 or 20 grand. And so one of the lessons that I've learned over the last few years is whenever possible, I almost never sell coin A to buy coin B. Now, with all strategies, you got to be, there's some flexibility. If coin A is at the point where I don't believe it's got any future potential and I made a mistake, then it's like a bad poker hand. You don't want to, just because you got $1,000 invested on a bad poker hand, if you believe that the odds of you winning the hand are almost zero, you don't want to invest another $1,000 just, hoping in thin air. So having said what I just said, if you've got a token that you really don't believe in anymore, that things have changed, ownership has changed, the narrative's changed, they're not following through. They weren't able to deliver on their product. And so you just want to get out of that token and forget it ever existed. Great. But if you're selling this token to buy this token, hoping this token's going to go up, then you're going to sell this token and you're going to go buy that token back, it's almost always a bad idea. And I bet you Deadwood and a few of the people that are in here today could probably mirror. You still can't see me? What is going on here? I don't know what to do, folks. I don't know why you can't see me now. It looks like I'm totally visible myself. You can hear me, but you can't see me. This is crazy. It looked like I switched the camera. And I add to stage, settings, webcam. Man, I don't know what to do, folks. This is, I'm going to X out of the studio real quick. Oh, you can. I don't know what in the world changed. The whole time I've been talking, I was on this view. I had changed it to the webcam. So, oh man, you guys are troopers. Nobody would sit on a live stream listening to some guy ramble on for a half an hour when you can't even see him, except for you guys, man. I love you guys. You guys are awesome, man. I swear. I've got one of the best communities in crypto. Hopefully some of the stuff that I've been saying is still making sense, even though you couldn't see my beautiful face. You couldn't see my Goldilocks. Man, it's, unfortunate that my camera situation was like that, but I'm glad that we got it fixed. So having said all of that, another thing that I believe everybody should learn about, and Deadwood was just talking about it. Let me scroll up here and see if I can find find yeah, here it is. So he says, I have been researching the liquidity pools on Aerodrome and Velodrome, and there are some great percentages to be made with USDC and WETH banned. I'm not exactly sure what WETH band is, but liquidity pools and DeFi. So DeFi is decentralized finance. That's another great tool to have in your tool belt, especially in a bull market. Like I set up liquidity pools on Aerodrome 6-7 months ago that I've been able to keep in play, and I've been earning, free Aerodrome, if you will, all these months. So one of the liquidity pools I put in $400 into it, $200 into two different. I put $200 in USDC, $200 in Aerodrome tokens, and that pool started off at 192%, and even I think right now it's down to maybe 50, 60, 70%, but that's still pretty incredible money. So as of right now, that liquidity pool, I want to say, is worth a little around 500 to me, or maybe 450. And I invested 400 into the liquidity pool. So if I wanted to, I could go withdraw my liquidity and have my 400 and maybe a little bit more in my account. But for the last 6 months, that particular account has probably earned me, I don't know, 200-300 Aerodrome, somewhere in that ballpark. I haven't done a great job of keeping track and writing it down in my notebook, but that's a nice little chunk of Aerodrome just to have for putting in a $400 investment 6 months ago, and here I am 30, 40, 50, 60 Aerodrome a month later because of that investment. And Aerodrome is probably going to be a 10, $5, $10, $15, $20 token. Really hard to say where Aerodrome is going to go, but even at $10 and even at 200 tokens, that's $2,000 in Aerodrome that I basically earned for free. So liquidity pools and how to play the DeFi game is another tool in your tool belt. And then last but not least, well, there's multiple more, but right now we're going to talk about trading. And one of the reasons that I want to really stress the importance of this, folks. So if you've been watching these videos, but you haven't actually been putting any of it into action, I would highly implore you, please, please, please go create your BYDFI account. Totally free to create it. Takes all of about 30 seconds, a name and an email. If you're in the United States, you don't have to KYC. You don't have to use a VPN. Same thing with Canada. It's available basically almost all over the globe. The only places that are restricted are places, like Cuba and Iran and some of the places that everybody restricts. But it's a great platform, very easy to use. You can do some up to 200 leverage, 200x leverage on some tokens, which I don't recommend. We're not gonna get into that. But the thing about this tool belt, the reason that I believe this is so important, folks, is not only, in my opinion, are you going to have an opportunity to make way more money during this bull market with these strategies. You employ your buy and hold strategy, but then you also take a smaller part of your bankroll and employ it in the ways that we're going to go over here shortly. And in my humble opinion, I believe that if you take 100% of your hold portfolio and you just hold it for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months, you're going to do extremely well. But if you were to take just a small percentage of that portfolio, like say 10 or 15%, and you were to employ the strategies that I'm going to share with you here in the next few minutes, I believe that 10 or 15% can make you as much as the other 90% potentially. And you can do it, in my opinion, relatively safely. If you follow some of the guidelines and some of the things that I'm going to teach you, it's not as risky as it seems. Most people think that trading is risky, and I was one of them. And I can't even tell you where this idea came from. I believe that, in my case, it's God. I'm connected to my creator, and I'm always asking for answers. I'm always asking questions. One of the things that's always on my mind is how can I provide more value for my viewers? What can I do that actually makes the time that you're spending here watching me worthwhile to you? What can I do to differentiate myself from the other guys that are out there? Because let's face it, you got tens of thousands of crypto YouTubers you could be listening to. Maybe there's only 1,000 good ones, but there's probably 1,000 crypto YouTubers out there. I'm finding YouTubers every day in crypto that have 50,000, 100,000, 200,000. I found a guy not too long ago that had 1 million subscribers and I'd never heard of him. And so you guys have lots of options, and I'm always looking for ways that I can make your lives better and help you create that financial freedom. And this just kind of came to me one day. So rather than doing these trades that are set up to, you execute them and you profit or loss over the next 5 minutes or the next 30 minutes or the next hour or two, I thought, what about, what can I do for people that don't want to sit in front of a computer screen all day? Because the fact of the matter is, if you have to sit in front of a computer screen for 6, 8, 10 hours looking for setups, and then you have to execute the setup, and then when you're doing a swing trade, if you're doing a trade where you're looking to take your profit out in 5, 10, 15 minutes or even an hour or two, once again, you kind of have to be right on top of it. And so I don't want to be a guy that has all of the skill but needs to sit in front of a computer for 8 or 10 hours a day. Like, I got life to live. I got better things to do. And the other part of that is that most people are never going to get good enough to do that. I mean, there's some traders out there that are phenomenal. I love watching Sam Price, Crypto Lifer. I don't believe I'm ever going to be able to be at the skill level that he's at, because he's sitting in front of his desk 8, 10, 12, 16 hours a day, every day. And that's awesome. He loves it. He's got an incredible channel. I recommend you go watch it. You're going to learn a ton from him. But I understand that that's not the life that I'm trying to create for myself. So the other thing about what I'm sharing here on these Trader Tuesdays is how you can employ these strategies and have a somewhat set it and forget it mentality, where you don't have to, once you've got these trades in place, yeah, you're going to want to keep an eye on them and be monitoring them. But it literally, I have the app, here on my phone. So I will literally this is how fast it takes me to monitor my trades. You guys are watching me do it right now. I'm going to, just in this amount of time, I'm over to my BYDFI app on my phone, and then it's going to pop open. I'm going to hit the more tabs. I'm going to go to my USDTM, and just that quick, I can scroll down through and look at all of these trades that I'm going to be showing you here in a second. So just that fast, I've looked at my trades and seen where they're at. 2 of them are underwater right now. 1 of them's in the green, but I can literally, obviously if I was really looking at it, I would look at it for another 10 or 15 seconds and see, but how they're doing, and is there anything needed, to do on my end. But the profitability that can be there is absolutely awesome. I saw good old Pablo Noodles. Good morning, my friend. Good evening for you. Almost Happy New Year's. I'm glad that you're here. You weren't here last Tuesday, but I shared it briefly. Pablo can verify this, but he was listening to these strategies about 3 months ago when I first started to really teach them. And he put in a trade on HBAR that he sent me a picture of the other day, a couple of weeks ago now. He sent me a picture. The trade that he put in was up 3,200%, so 32x. And, like he said, it was only a $50 trade, darn the bad luck. But that $50 trade right now, 3 months later, is worth, at 32x, that's $1,600 in profit that his $50 bill is at. And right now, HBAR is still well below what it's going to be going up to. Like, HBAR is potentially going to get an ETF this coming year. I mean, HBAR is sitting at around a quarter right now. HBAR is still, probably going to be, I don't know, a $1, $2, $5 token during this bull run. And now he's so far away from his liquidation price that he doesn't have to worry about that trade. And so he can just let that run. So that's $1,600. If this thing goes to $1, should be worth roughly 4 more X. So I'm going to guesstimate that his $1,600 times 4 is $6,400. What if it goes up to being a $5 token? Well, that'd be a 20X. So 20X times, 1,600 is 20 grand, 30 something thousand dollars. So he's probably got a trade in place that's going to be worth somewhere between $6,000 and $30,000 for a $50 bill. And from what he told me, I hope I'm getting this right, Pablo, he backed it up with other trades, but from what he told me, none of them ever executed. So not only did he get in it for $50, but part of the reason he's only got $50 in it is because his ladders never executed. He probably wishes that there would have been a little bit of a downturn and that some of his other trades would have executed, because then he'd really be crushing this trade. But how do you guys like the sound of that? $50 bill, now worth, $1,600. He's got no stress. He can just let it run for the next several months, and it's potentially going to turn into $5,000, $6,000, $8,000, $10,000, $15,000. And so, folks, part of the reason I came up with this was because if you've got a lot of money and you've got a big bankroll and you've got a big crypto portfolio, you can certainly afford. Are you kidding me, cat? Gosh, I got a cat that found something. And anyways, if you've got a big bankroll and you've got, thousands of dollars or even tens of thousands of dollars to play with, then this can be a strategy that can make you an absolute fortune along with your hold. But folks, if you're feeling a little bit behind, if there's anybody watching this right now and you're wishing that you had, another $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 in the market before it goes absolutely ballistic, but you're living paycheck to paycheck, you don't have a ton of extra funds, this is a great way to combat that. And so with that, let me get into it. I know that those of you that are, been watching the channel religiously for the last, year or two or more, and have been seeing all of these episodes on the trading. I'm sorry, my cat is driving me crazy. I'm trying to figure out where they are and what they got so that I can get it away from them. They got some kind of a bottle cap or something, and they're scooting it back and forth across the floor. I don't know if you guys can hear it or not, but it's driving me crazy. So anyways, let me pull up BYDFI 1 second here. With my camera being out of sorts, I actually didn't have my BYDFI pulled up yet. It may or may not make me re-log in. So, bear with me here for a quick second. While I'm talking here, so Pablo, said, yeah, correct, only one trade. Does anybody else that's been following the channel for the last few months have any success stories? Any of you put in any trades that are doing well or that are in play? That's another thing, folks. If you've been watching this show and you're not taking action, we got to get you into action. You can watch YouTube 27 hours a day, but if you never do any of the stuff that you're learning, then what was the point of putting your time in? Like, literally, guys, I love you. But for those of you that are watching these Trader Tuesdays, if you've watched these things for the last 2 or 3 months and you haven't actually gone and placed any trades, why? Like, why are you spending this 2 hours here with me today if you're not going to go test it out? Even if it's with $10 bills, like, you can do everything I'm going to show here $10 at a time instead of $50 at a time, or $100 at a time, or there's so many different ways that you can play this. He says, say one trade on HBAR and there are others. Okay, good. So you're in some other trades that are doing well. Maybe they're not doing as good as HBAR, but you're happy with some other trades that you've placed. That's awesome. Good to hear it. Let me see my BYDFI account. Is it logged into? No, I got to log into it, of course. All right, give me a quick second here, folks. Sorry for the delay. This is something I normally do, but like I said, my camera kind of got me messed up by turning off on me right while I was getting ready to do all of this stuff and get everything kind of ready to go for the stream. Shouldn't take too long here to make this happen again, though. If I can get the puzzle piece to fit in, there we go. And is it going to make me do my 2FA? No. Okay, so then, oh, come on, guys. I'm trying to log in, not sign up for a new account. A lot of things are changing in 2025, guys. I've got a lot of plans that are going to make everything a lot smoother. For one thing, I'm going to have a social media manager, which doesn't necessarily make these live streams easier, but I am going to have a second person that is around on a more of a full-time basis. I kind of lost my son. I wanted him to get some real world experience, and he had an opportunity to get a job working, 9 to 5. I thought it was a great way for him to learn how much it sucks to have a job and to have people telling you where you got to be, when you got to be there, and all of that stuff. Unfortunately, it backfired on me a little bit because he enjoys having the paycheck. He enjoys having the money coming in. And so he hasn't gotten to the point where, he hates having to, get up in the morning and go to work. So it's one of those bittersweet things where I'm glad that he's making some money. I'm glad that he's getting some real world experience, but I really wish that I thought that this job was going to push him in the direction of going and out and getting financial freedom and having, he's 18 years old and he's in a position with the crypto knowledge and everything that he has that, he should really never have to have a job in his life if he, really took advantage of some of the opportunities that he has in crypto and the different things that we've got going on with the YouTube channel. But, it is what it is. You can only do so much for whatever reason. The YouTube stuff was never stuff that he really fell in love with. He didn't really enjoy, being a part of the YouTube channel. So, you can only do so much. I think he's crazy. I think he'll come back around one of these days, but you know how it goes. We all have to go learn our own lessons, beat our head up against the concrete wall a little bit and figure out what works and doesn't work all on our own. If we all listen to our parents, the first time they told us, we'd be a lot better off. But I have to admit, in my own life, as wise as my dad was and as incredible of a relationship as I had with him and as much as I trusted him, there was still dozens of times in my life where I went back to my dad 6 months or a year after he'd given me advice. And then I went out and did it my own way. And I went back and said, "Hey, Dad, remember that conversation we had 6 months ago? Well, you were right." And, so it's just sometimes I get frustrated, but it is what it is. And I got to remember I did the same stuff when I was a teenager. So all in all, he's an amazing kid. Never done any drugs, never drank, incredibly big hearted, warm and loving, just a generous guy. So I was very, very blessed with my son, even though he frustrates me when it comes to, cryptocurrency and his desire to create financial freedom for himself during this bull market. I will say this is a lesson for all of you. You have an opportunity. I've said this before. I hope you guys are listening. You have an opportunity over the next 3 months to 12 months to make more money than you potentially going to have over the next 4 or 5 years. Like if you don't take advantage of this next 3 to 6 months, I would say 3 to 6 months, even though it could go longer. If you don't take advantage of this next 3 to 6 months properly, you're going to be waiting until 2029, 2030 to have the money that you want and the ability to create the freedom and stuff in your life. Like you have a window of opportunity. I don't care if you're starting, if this is the first time you ever watched a crypto YouTube channel, you know nothing about crypto, you have the ability, yeah, you're going to have to put in a few hours a day watching YouTube videos and learning, and you're going to have to get some money deployed. I mean, you have an opportunity over the next 3 to 6 months to make more hay than you'll have, you know, until once again, like 26, 27, 28, you're going to have to play the waiting game potentially. Now, I know that some people believe that we're going to be in a perpetual bull market for the next several years because of some of the changes that are coming into the world and some of the, you know, things that are taking place. There's some possibility you may be right. I still believe, even if that's correct, even if we have a positive, longer bull market than normal, we're still going to have this 3 to 6 month window where it's absolutely, you know, face melting and mind blowing what comes. And then once we have that happen, where Bitcoin runs up to 150, 250, 300,000, the altcoins have been, you know, sucked up and have done 10, 20, 50, 100x. There might still be some room to run after that, but it's going to be much slower. And if you're getting into the crypto market towards the peak, then you're going to have opportunity potentially, but it's going to be slower moving. It's going to be harder to find the 10Xs, the 25Xs, the 100Xs. And you're also running the risk of coming in too late because nobody knows for sure if we're going to have a longer term bull market or not. And so if you jump in, dive in head first when Bitcoin's at 200K because you think it's going to 300K and everything is, you know, going to be honky dory for, you know, the long term instead of a shorter term like it normally is, you could be one of the guys that gets in and holds it all the way down, you know, to the bottom during the next bear market if it stays cyclical like it has been. You know, so just keep that in mind that right now, every dollar that you can get into the market, every minute that you spend educating yourself is probably worth $10 in 10 minutes, you know, compared to 6 months or a year from now. So anyways, here we are. We're on BYDFI. Let me get over to this view here, get me out of the way a little bit more. And so we're going to just run straight over to derivatives. So if you have your account created and you're looking at the home page like this, you're going to have the derivatives tab and you're going to have USDTM and CoinM. We use mostly USDTM. So that means whatever token you deposit into your account, if it's not USDT, you're going to want to get it turned into USDT, which means you can just simply go over to this markets page and you can sell whatever token it is, whether it's Ethereum or Bitcoin, XRP, USDC, whatever you sent to your account to deposit, you can go to the markets tab here and sell it into USDT. Once you have the USDT, then in order to make that available over here in the derivatives account, you have to transfer it. So all of your assets start off in your spot account. And in order to get them over here to the derivatives account, you need to scroll down and hit this transfer button. And then hopefully your computer loads up faster than mine. I don't have a whole lot of extra USDT in here right now, but I'll go ahead and transfer this. So you can see I've got $110. I'm just going to transfer all of it. And I just hit confirm. And just like that, and now if we scroll back up here, you can see $110.72. So folks, these are the current trades that I have in play. A few of these, in fact, all three of these you saw last week, and they were doing way, way, way better. So, you know, one of the things that we talk about on the channel is that you have to be okay with the ups and downs. This H bar trade at one point in time was in profit at about $700 worth of profit. Now you can see here, hopefully, this is a $249, $250 trade. It was at $700 profit. And you wonder, okay, so it was sitting at, 200 going on 300% in profit. Why didn't you sell it? Why didn't you take some profit? Why didn't you do something other than let it come down to this $172? Well, there's two reasons. One is I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know exactly what's going to happen with the market. There's been plenty of times where I've had trades do 200 or 300%, and then they continued to go on up. The other thing was the token is sitting at 27 cents right now, and it was only at 34 cents. So we just talked a minute ago how I believe H bar is going to be a $1, $2, $3, $4, $5 token. So I didn't make this trade to make this $250 turn into $700 or $800 in profit. If we go over here and we look at this $250 trade and we put a price of $1 on it, that is $7,362, folks. So that's a 10x from the $700 in profit that I'm at. Is H bar going to go to $1 during this bull market? I would bet good money that it does. I think it's almost inevitable. Once again, I think $1 could be on the low side. What if I'm right and it does absolutely amazing? It goes all the way to $5. $5 turns this $250 into $46,758. And as you can see, folks, it's still a long ways away from getting liquidated. So you can see here that I got into this trade at 25.25, so 25 cents, 0.25 cents, so 25.25. The liquidation on it is down at about 23 cents. So you can see here, I still have a nice little chunk, well, a long ways away from liquidation. And then I went in and I created a backup order for it. So you can see here, I've got a backup order in on H bar. Now, this is weird. My math showed me that I should have a liquidation price at about 22.7. And I've got a buy-in at 22.8, where it's weird. It's showing me a liquidation price of actually like 23.08. So I'm going to raise that just a little bit to be safe. I think that I probably have a little bit of room to wiggle, and that other trade that I have in for backup will execute before this totally got liquidated. But my point is, for those of you that are watching, it's the same old, same old. We put in the original trade, and then we ladder in more trades. So the second thing that I really need to do is I need to go get this backed up. So I've got to trade in at 22.8. Well, there goes one of my lights. I got to trade in at 22.8 here. In a perfect world, I would go in and put in a third trade at, say, roughly 20 cents, like 20.5 cents. And then I've probably put in a fourth trade down at about 18 cents, so that I had a long way. So from 27 cents, 20% of 27 is 5.4 cents. So that's only going to take it from 27 down to just under 22. So if my liquidation price was all the way down to 18, I would say that I had absolutely no worries about this H bar trade. But once again, this is an opportunity during these pullbacks like this. What you want to do is you want to figure out what tokens you believe are going to do well over the long term, over the next, like, these trades are designed to be in place for a month or 2 or 3, or even 4 or 5 or 6, depending on how well it's going. If all of a sudden H bar jumped up to, so let's just say that H bar jumped up to 50 cents on me. We'll go back over here, and I want to kind of show you guys this again. But at 0.5 cents, 0.5, that trade would be worth $3,400. And once again, there's a bunch of you that would be looking at that and you'd be like, Brad, dude, how greedy do you want to get? You've got your 250 bucks turned into $3,400. Why aren't you selling? Well, once again, because I just showed you that thing runs up to $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, and ends up being tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars. Now, if you told me, hey, Brad, why don't you pull $1,000 off the top so you got your 250 back and $750 in profit and still a huge position, I could get on board with that. I think that that's actually a good idea. And that's one of the things that I wanted to mention on this live stream is instead of doing just the total all or nothing, type of mentality, I do think it's a good idea for us to potentially start pulling out a little bit of our profits. The other reason for that is there's always going to be other tokens that maybe haven't moved as much yet. So if you were to pull out $1,000, say this gets to 50 cents and you've got 3,500 there, if you were to pull $1,000 out of that, now you have $1,000 that you could go put into 4 $250 trades on other tokens and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, and I'm not here to give you the exact formula. You kind of have to play with it a little bit yourself and decide what makes sense to you. But in general, folks, let me pull up CoinGecko here real quick and run over to CoinGecko. So if you want to have a little, I want to give you guys a little bit of an idea of how the method to my madness here, because I don't want you guys to think that I'm just, playing this by ear and that it's just, some kind of a, throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. So one of the reasons that I went with this H-bar trade, because you guys probably hadn't heard me talk about H-bar previously. I wish that I would have been thinking about H-bar back when Paul was thinking about H-bar, but I wasn't. But let's go take a quick peek at H-bar. I want to show you guys something. Because one of the reasons that I chose H-bar, not only because I believe it has huge room to grow, but I was also looking at it. If you look here at, let's run out to its 3-month chart. Make sure I've got my screen shared good. Yep, I do. So, man, you can see like Paul must have got back in, got in here on this trade way back here at like 5, 6, 7 cents. I'm jealous, Paul. Man, you nailed this trade. Depending on when you got in on it, you really did well. But look at this, guys. This was the recent dip. A couple weeks ago when we had the really big dip in the market and everything went down, 25, 30%. Look at that, folks. 2.3 cents was like its low. You can see that it dipped down really solid there on December 20th, all the way down to about 2.3 cents. So when I placed my trade here on BYDFI, I didn't know if it was going to go all the way back to that all-time low or not. So that's one of the reasons that I settled in on this 25.25. But the other thing that I thought about was if it went when Bitcoin really got crushed off and dropped all the way down to 90,000 or whatever it was. If this thing went down to just a little over 23 cents, then I felt like there was a relatively decent chance that could be the bottom. Now, if Bitcoin runs down on us to 75, 80,000, of course, I'm going to have to ladder in some more trades. But that's one of the reasons that you take your bankroll and you split it up. If you've got, say you got $500 that you want to put into an H-bar trade, then you start off with $50 like Paul did. You just start off with 50 of that 500, and then you ladder in at this, say 2.3 cents, you would ladder in, say $75 or $80. And then you would go down to the 20 cent range and you would put in, a couple $100 trade. And then for the last trade down at 18 cents, you would have, say, another, couple $100 roughly. You spread it out, but you ladder in slightly bigger amounts like $50, $80, $120. That would be what, $250? And then that would leave you on the third buy. You could do, a $250 buy if it got all the way down. But by doing that, if you took $500 and you laddered it in at 50, 80, 120, and 250, your liquidation price on H bar roughly would be somewhere down around probably 16, 17, 18 cents. And even if Bitcoin goes all the way back to 80,000, there's a pretty decent chance that H bar is going to still stay up in that ballpark. And if for any reason it looks like it could go lower, you could simply stagger in a couple more buy orders. And we've talked about this before, but one of the ways that you can absolutely strike it rich is if H bar came all the way back and hit your $80 trade, hit your $120 trade, hit your $250 trade, and then you catch the bottom and it heads back up. Can you imagine if right now on this 25-cent trade, I've got $250 in it, and at $50 or 50 cents, just a double from 25 to 50, that 250 is going to be worth like $3,500. Well, imagine what $500 in with a cost average at that point in time. If you bought at 25 and 23 and 20 and 18, your cost basis is going to be much lower than 25. Now, when this thing runs back up, you're going to be in some significant profit. You have $500 in this trade at, say, an average cost of what's halfway between 25 and 18 be 7, so 3.5. So you'd be down at like about a 21 cent, average. And when it starts to run back up, you're in great shape. Now, folks, the other thing that you want to take into consideration is the type of leverage that you're putting in. So you can see here on the Ripple trade, the XRP trade, I'm only using 5x leverage. And that's because Ripple had ran from, 25, 50 cents over the, last few months all the way up to $2.50, $2.60. And I didn't want to risk having a high chance of getting liquidated. So you can see here the H bar and the Polygon trades are 10x leverage. So something else that you can do to protect yourself even more is go down lower than 10x leverage. Even lowering it from 10x to like 7x leverage gives you a whole nother layer before it liquidates. If you go all the way down to 5x leverage, you give yourself, double the room. So on a $1 token with 10x leverage, your liquidation price would be about 90 cents. With a $1 token and 5x leverage, your liquidation price would drop all the way down to 80. So if you follow me here, if you took a $1 coin with 10x leverage, your first ladder would be in at a little over 90 cents. Now, 10% of 90 is 9, so your next ladder would be in at a little over 91 cents. And then, 81 cents. And then 10% of 8 of 80 cents is 8. So 8 cents from, say, 91 takes you up to 74 cents. So with 3 ladders, you would go from $1 all the way down to around 73. So you'd have a 27% drop that you could handle. But if you look at it from a 5x leverage standpoint, your dollar turns into 80. So your first trade would be at a little over 80 cents. Then 20% of 80 is 16. So your next trade would be all the way down to about 64 cents. And then 20% of 64 is about 13. So you're looking at 13 from 64 takes you all the way back to 51. So with a 10x leverage trade and about 2 or 3 ladders, you give yourself about 27%. With a 5x leverage trade, you give yourself all the way down at about 50%. So once again, I'm not here to tell you what is the best, what is right. I'm just here to give you some guidelines, and that kind of going to depend on your bankroll. It also depends on your ability to get more funds in. So if you had $500 and like, no matter what, no matter like if you were in serious risk of your trade getting liquidated, you were just going to have to sit on your hands and pray that it didn't get liquidated. You weren't able to put any more money into your account. Sorry, let me stake that thought. Hey, Pablo, I love you, brother. Happy New Year's. God bless you, my friend. I've got a couple of cool things that I want to chat with you about. So I will be in touch in DMs here in the next couple of days, man. I hope you have a fantastic New Year's, and we'll talk to you again soon. Take care, man. Thanks for stopping by. So once again, if your bankroll doesn't allow you to add more funds in, so my point is, let's say that you did this trade on a $1 token, and your trade, executed. It came down to 91 cents. So your trade executed. Your second trade executed for the $80. Now you went down, and it went all the way down again to 91 cents. And then it went all the way down again to your second one at 83 cents or 82 cents. That executed for $120. Now it runs all the way down to 74 cents, and it executes for 250. Well, when that executes, you're going to have, say, from 74 cents down to, call it 68 cents is the new liquidation price. If you're afraid that it could very well go from 74 down to 68 and you're going to lose your whole 500, and you're not in a position where like me, if I was in that situation, I'd figure it out. I'd beg, borrow, steal. I'd sell something, and I'd get some more money over to my account, and I would put in a new trade at 68, and then maybe even down at, say, like 63 to give myself a spot to where I didn't have to worry about liquidation. But if that's not possible for you, you don't want to do that, then you might want to consider going slightly lower than 10x leverage. I think there's nothing wrong with 5x leverage, and you can still make incredible money. So like the trade that I'm in right now that I just showed you at 50 cents was going to be worth $3,500 at 50 cents, and it'd still be worth $1,750 at 5x leverage, still be worth about half. So I'd still have the potential. And then, I showed you if it went all the way up to $5, how it would be worth 36 grand. That's still going to be roughly half. It's still going to be 18 grand, even at 5x leverage. So you don't have to be, as greedy as I am, if you will. But that's kind of the playbook. Find the tokens. I'm going to scroll back over here to HBAR, and then you're over here to CoinGecko, and then so BYDFI has a lot of tokens, and it has most of your top tokens. So for those of you that are, thinking about doing this, here's a few of the tokens that I really like the idea of doing the leverage on. And I'll just kind of go down through the list here. XRP. I think XRP is an incredible token to do this with, especially if you're a guy that doesn't have a big enough bag of XRP. With everything that's happening with XRP and the fact that it's going to start getting burned, and then the fact that this token by itself, guys, if you're paying any attention to the banking system and what is happening with the RLUSDT or whatever it's called, the stable coin that's being used, backed by Ripple, Ripple could turn into a multi-trillion-dollar market cap token. So, it's already sitting at 119 billion, but we're talking at 3 trillion, we're talking about like another 25x. Like, I never used to think that XRP was going to be a $50 or $100 token because there was so many of them. But the fact of the matter is, folks, with the burn mechanism that's in place, and then with this thing possibly being just a multi-trillion-dollar token, XRP could have a lot more room to run than people are thinking. Like, it could still have a 10, 20, 50x in it. So XRP is high up on my list. For me, Solana, not as much. Solana's already had such a massive run up in this market. It's not necessarily one that I'm messing around with. Another one here that I haven't played around with it yet, but Dogecoin. Let's face it. If Elon Musk puts out the right kind of tweet, if all of a sudden X starts accepting Doge as payment for different stuff, we just don't know. There's always that little bit of a, like, any day we could wake up and Elon Musk has done something that sends Dogecoin into the stratosphere. So I believe Dogecoin is going to be a big token during this bull market. It should run up to $1 or more at some point in time. So Dogecoin's another one that I wouldn't mind, throwing in a leverage trade on. Cardano, once again, I've talked about Cardano a bunch of times. That's one that I think would be a fantastic one to consider putting in a trade in like this on. Avalanche, another one that could highly be considered, and it's down a nice little chunk from this run up over the last couple of weeks. Another one that I haven't done myself that might be a good possibility is Toncoin. And then one of my absolute favorites is Chainlink. Folks, Chainlink's going to be a $200,000, $500,000 token over the next handful of years and decades. Chainlink is going to be a big player. It's going to be one of the Amazons, one of the Apples, one of the Microsofts of cryptocurrency, in my opinion. This was just sitting at over $30 a token, and now it's down to $20 a token. This would be a great token, in my opinion, to make a move like this with. Sui, or Sui, however you want to pronounce it, Sui, I think has some incredible potential. We already talked about HBAR here. Polkadot is another one of my favorites that I think is going to do some massive things at some point in time during this bull market. Stellar Lumens got a lot of room to run. Going to be a good token, in my opinion. We scroll down here. There's a few more that maybe I'm skipping over. Potentially Uniswap could be a good one. Aptos is a good one. I think that ICP, Internet Computer here, is a good one. What else do we got? I don't believe that Virtual's protocol is on BYDFI to trade with perpetuals right now. But if it was, I think it might be worth playing with. Polygon. I think Polygon is an absolute monster. It's all the way down at 40. I think Polygon is going to be, a top 10 token or close to it during this bull market. So at 45 cents, Polygon, and as you can see, I've got a trade in on Polygon right now. Hopefully I'm showing the right screen, right? No, I'm not. Oh my God, guys. I don't know why I thought to look, but I've been going down through this list on CoinGecko like this, and I didn't have it changed to the right view. And that's why I need to have somebody with me on my live streams. Hey, Daniel, if you're still listening, man, we might need to connect and figure out a way that we can communicate while I'm on these live streams, because that's one of the things that my son used to do. If I switched views and started talking about a website that I wasn't actually on, that was one of my son's jobs, was to just be watching and let me know. So here I was, I just talked for the last 5 minutes and I wasn't on the view. Now you guys heard me, and it's not that big of a deal that you couldn't see it, but at the same time, that stuff like that frustrates me a little bit. So here we are. Another one that I'm getting down to that I think is absolutely huge, that I love, is VeChain. I think VeChain is going to do absolutely fantastic. And, I don't want to go much lower than that. For these plays, guys, you don't need to go way, way, way down the rabbit hole. You don't got to go 100 miles down, the list like we do for some of our market cap, our crypto micro cap gems. We don't have to go all the way down the rabbit hole like that. So those are some tokens that I'm excited about. And so I've got a couple other things that I want to chat about, but man, I would really love to open this up to a little bit of Q&A. So for those of you that are watching, if you haven't tried doing this yet, please tell me in the chat, like, what's holding you back? what questions do you have? Something that I didn't cover on the screen there, and I'll mention it now, is I usually do isolated. I do isolated leverage versus cross, leverage. So I do isolated. But seriously, guys, if you've been watching this for the last, couple of months and you're not doing it, I'm kind of curious what's holding you back. One of the things that I can see when you create your BYDFI account, I don't know whose account is whose, but one of the things that I have noticed is it does show me like it'll show me a number. It'll say like UI 6794328 and then it'll show 0 deposit. So I can look through all of the referrals, all of the people that have signed up through my account, and I can see which ones have made a deposit and which ones haven't. And there's a huge percentage of you that have created accounts that have never deposited funds. So that leads me to believe that you've probably never tried any of these trades because you never even got any funds onto the platform. So there's a handful of you that it looks like are doing some stuff, but I would say 75% of you that have created accounts have never even made your first deposit yet. So I really love to take this opportunity to, answer your questions and help you get comfortable giving it a shot. One of the things that I just mentioned is you can literally start with $10 on the first trade and then ladder in, $15, $16 on the second trade, and then $25, and then, $50. And you could use this strategy, with $100 bill. And, those are great questions, guys. I'll get to those in a second, but I just want to run back over here real quick and show you guys something. So let's look at, once again, we'll look at this H-bar trade. So if we take a $10 trade here, and instead of a $10 trade being up $176, it would be up $7. So it's, it's about 70% that it's up right now. So a $10 trade would be up, $7. But I want you, so what? 10 is 1/25 of 250. So if we go over here, let's say that you put in this H-bar trade at $10, and then you backed it up at 15, and then at 20, and then at, whatever, 25, or, somewhere in that ballpark with less than $100. Now let's go back over here and just, do the math. If we go over here and this becomes a $1 token, all right, so we said at $1, that's $7,300. So if we take 7,300 divided by 25, that's $292. So, folks, it's all relative. If 10 bucks, if $10 is, a little bit of a chunk of money for you, putting that $100 into the trade, is a little uncomfortable, then turning $10 into 300, that's a 30x, man. That should feel pretty significant. And so really there's no reason that even if you have a real limited amount of funds, in my opinion, in fact, like if you've only got 10, 20, 30, 40, $50 to invest, I think that this could be a better strategy than going out and buying $25 worth of a token and hoping that that token does something special over the next handful of months. Like, I think you should be doing both, but I'm just here to say basically that even with $10 trades, you have the ability to put yourself in a position where you can make some incredible money. And if the token comes down for a little while and your $15 trade and your $25 trade get executed, now you've got $40 invested in that trade. And so instead of 292, you multiply that times 4, you're all of a sudden you're up to $1,168 on a $40 trade, and so on and so forth. at very, very little risk, because you've laddered in these trades to where you're not going to get liquidated. And, so you really just end up having upside. And it's, really the upside can come much sooner than later. We don't know when the altcoin cycle is going to start. But, that's the other thing about what we're doing here. Like, you're not going to be able to do this forever, because when all of a sudden these tokens have 10x'd, when H bar is $2.50, I don't know how excited I'm going to be about trying to put a leverage trade in like this, because the fact of the matter is, if Bitcoin has a big retracement, if Bitcoin has one of its 30 or 40% retracements before it goes all the way to its, peak of the market, well, then you're looking at a $2.50 token that could get wiped out all the way back down to $1. Like, the higher it goes, the more potential it is to have a bigger drop if Bitcoin, has a big drop. Where right now these tokens are still somewhat towards the bottom of the market. And so we have a lot less likelihood of them getting liquidated. So with that, when in profits, do you close your trade? So my answer to that, Dave, is it's going to kind of be dependent upon each individual. I believe there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of a plan. But this strategy for me, Dave, is designed to go along with kind of like my long-term hold strategy. So for instance, if you've got whatever, let's say for you, you love Peak, P-E-A-Q, great token. You've already done well on it. Let's say that you invested $1,000 in Peak, and you believe that it's got the potential to 100x or 50x or 25x. Let's just say that you think it's going to 25x. So if you've got $1,000 in that token and Peak starts to run up, at what point in time do you sell your Peak? Now, that question is going to have a different answer for everybody, but me, I want to have the majority of that Peak still in my crypto wallet when it hits that 25x. So am I open to and believe that there's merit in taking out some profit? Let's say that you're at 3x, like you are, and you had $1,000 invested, so now you've got $3,000. If you told me, hey, Brad, I'm going to pull a third of my tokens out, like say whatever, let's just say that you had 1,000 tokens. I'm going to take 333 tokens and sell them for my $1,000 back, and I'm going to let the other 660 tokens ride. I would be all for that. And then if you told me, hey, it's at a 10x now, I think I'm going to take, I've got 660 tokens. I'm going to take 160 of those tokens, and I'm going to sell those for whatever profit that would be. And now I'm going to still have half the position, and I'm going to let that half a position, ride and hope that it gets all the way up to the 25x. That's kind of how I would play some of these trades too. Now, for me, in a perfect world, if I didn't have rent and car payments and, life and vacations and all the stuff that I'm doing that kind of comes from my crypto, you got to remember that for the most part, I'm kind of living off of my assets. The YouTube channel is bringing in some funds, but it's not bringing in enough to cover my life. And it's also, it's not bringing, a lot of the funds that it does bring in, I don't want to use because I don't want to sell everything. I don't want to sell my crypto portfolio to live unless I absolutely have to. But because I believe that a lot of the tokens that I have, some of the tokens like NeuroHub and Blocks and Carbify and some of the tokens, these sponsors of mine, when I'm accumulating their tokens, man, I believe that their tokens are going to 10, 50, 100x. So I'm doing everything that I can to not sell them. So part of the reason that some of those trades that I made 2 or 3 months ago, you're not seeing them, part of that is that I will say, I'll use the word unfortunately, I had to sell. I had no choice in the matter. I had to sell something. And rather than selling some of my long-term holds that, might have been underwater or even potentially, even if they might have been up a little bit, but they're nowhere near where I believe they're going to be, I decided to take some of the profits on some of my trades. So it's different for everybody. But in a perfect world, Dave, let's say that you've got a job and it pays your bills and you don't need this trading account. And that's what you really want to be. I preach it all the time. Like, don't take your profit to use for life. But I don't have a job, so I'm kind of stuck doing that. But if you've got a job, don't take the profit and use it for life. So if you're telling me that you're going to take this $100 trade and it's now at $500 in profit, and you're going to cash it out and you're going to take that 500 and go, have, fun weekend and enjoy it and spend it on, going out on a boat or something, I would tell you, never, don't ever close the trade. But if you were going to tell me, hey, I've got this $100 trade that is turned into $500, and so I'm going to cash out 40% of it. I'm going to cash out $200 worth of this trade, have my 100 back in my pocket, have $100 profit, and I'm going to let the other, $300 ride, because if you're right and H bar goes up to $5, that's 300 is still going to be worth tens of thousands of dollars. So I guess what I'm saying, Dave, is every time you take profits, you also limit your upside a little bit. But it's obviously important to limit your downside too, because now you can take that $200 that you pulled out, leave it on the sidelines in case there's a retracement. And you have, like an opportunity like we did back on December 20th, where Bitcoin, drops down 10 grand and all of the altcoins get slaughtered by 25 or 30%. That's a great time to have some capital sitting on the sidelines so that you can jump in and create a couple new trades. So I do think the more that I've done this, the more that I do believe it makes sense to take some profit on your way up. I'm not moving my stop loss up though, Dave, because I don't want things to get stopped out. If it gets stopped out, then you got to put in a new trade and you got to go through, all of that work. So let's say that I've got this $100 trade and it's worth 500, and I decide that I want to, I don't tell myself, hey, I want to guarantee myself $400 in profit, so I'm going to move my stop loss from wherever it's at all the way up to here, because inevitably these tokens, like you saw, this H bar trade went from 700 in profit all the way down to 100 and something in profit. So had I had a stop loss in, yeah, technically I would have more profit. But I also would then have to catch the market, because what happens, how often have you seen your stop loss hit and then have a coin take back off? So if the stop loss hits and then you wake up in the morning and the token is back up to its previous all-time, its previous high or even higher, then yeah, you've got a few dollars in your account, but you're out of that trade and you don't have the ability to ride that trade all the way up to tens of thousands of dollars. So, once again, it's kind of up to you, Dave, but for the most part, you want to look at these trades similar to your buy and hold strategy. Like, plan on having this money tied up for the next 30, 60, 90, 120 days. And if it happens faster, great. If it takes a little bit longer, that's okay too. But so even though we're calling it trading always brings to mind a short-term mindset, a short-term mentality, where these are trades that we're looking at more like long-term holds, but we're just giving ourselves the ability, instead of maybe making 5 or 10x on a good token like H bar, like right now, even, like if it goes from 25 cents to $2.50 and you just bought and held, $250 worth of it, you would have $250 times 10, you'd have $2,500. Not a bad win. But we just showed you where, if we go, I want to double check, make sure my math is good. But if we go, let's go back here one more time. If you had this 10x trade in on H bar, is this H bar here? Yeah. Yeah, it is. So we go here to a 10x trade for $250, and now it goes up to $2.50. Instead of turning 250 into, excuse me, is that a 9? Yeah, I did it wrong. So instead of turning $250 into 2,500 with this trade, that's going to turn into 22,000. And so that's the power of getting these things in place and letting them run. So was that helpful at all? Did that answer your question at all, Dave? I hope that was a little bit helpful. Take whatever amount of money you can afford to leave in the market for a little bit of time. So if $500 makes you wince and you're like, I don't know if I want to tie up 500 for the next 3 or 4 months, then put in a little bit less. Because once again, even on $25, $50 trades, you can make some substantial money in the long term. Any other questions? It looks like Deadwood had a couple of comments, but no questions. What did he say here? Right now, haven't been investing for the past 2 months. Times are tight. Hey, I totally understand, Deadwood. If anything, go create the account. And once again, just play around with some relatively small amounts of money. Like I say, even with 10, 15, 20, 30, $40, you can get some practice in and get used to making the trades. Because, folks, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. But one of the most important, you're welcome, Dave, man. Absolutely. That's what I'm here for. One of the most important parts of this strategy, folks, I want you guys to really understand this. As excited as I am about how much money this is going to make us over the next 3 or 4 or 5 months, where it really gets exciting is when everything's frothy. When you're down at the grocery store and your checker that's never said anything about crypto is talking about buying XRP at $18, and they finally bought their first little bit of Bitcoin at 250,000. In other words, when all of the signs start to show that we're in, at the peak of this market, whether that's 3 months from now or 6 months or 9 months from now, for every single one of us that made life-changing money in 2021 and then rode it all the way back down in 2022 and 23, this next bear market is going to be like Disneyland for us. Because, folks, you can take all of these tokens, and when Bitcoin decides to retrace, like at some point in time, I don't care what anybody says, if Bitcoin peaks at 250, it's going to come back to 100, 150 grand, somewhere in that ballpark. It's going to have a 50, 60, 70% retracement again at some point in time over the next couple of years, potentially later this year or later in 2025. When that happens, Polkadot got smashed from $52, I think it was, all the way down to as low as $3 and something, over 90%. And so did every other altcoin that we're talking about here. They all got crushed off by 90%. So, folks, when you have the ability to short the market the same way that we're longing the market, we're going to make a fortune on the way down. And that's why it's so important to make as much as we can on the way up, because you're going to be able to take, let's say that you got $1 million at the end of this bull market, you're going to be able to take 100 grand of that, and you're going to be able to short these coins the same way that we're talking right now, but you're going to be able to do it for bigger amounts of money. And it's just simply the same thing in reverse. Let's say that HBAR is a $5 token. Well, you're going to put in a 10x short at $5, and then 10 times $5 is 50 cents. So if HBAR was to run up to 550, you would get liquidated. So you're going to go in, and at about $5.48, you're going to put in another trade on a 10x short. That's going to take it up to just under $6. You're going to put in another trade and then another trade. So you're going to have the ability basically to ladder in trades above $5 up to $7. That's going to give you a 40% cushion. HBAR would have to run from 40 all the way, or from 5 all the way up to $7 for you to get liquidated at that point. And if you got 100 grand laying around, even if it did continue to go up, you're going to be able to ladder in more trades. At some point in time, though, it's all going to come crashing down. And when HBAR crashes from a $5 token, what's 90% of $5? 50 cents. So when it crashes from a $5 token all the way back down to 50 cents during the next bear market, and you're riding those shorts all the way down, and you got shorts on Polkadot, you got shorts on HBAR, you got shorts on Bitcoin, you got shorts on Ethereum, folks, instead of taking your $1 million and riding it all the way back down to 100 grand, you're going to have a bunch of your million out of the market, and then you're going to have whatever you feel comfortable playing with, 100 grand. Even if you took 250 grand, that still leaves you 750 on the sidelines to invest and to make money with, and to buy houses and cars and do whatever you want to do with. And that 250 could potentially turn into millions and millions of dollars during the next bull market. And how awesome would it be, folks, to turn whatever you got right now into $1 million during this bull market, but then during the next bear market, we turn a couple 100,000 of that into another $1 million or $2 million or $5 million. And now, as the market bought it, could you imagine, folks? Like, I get so excited, I want to jump out of my chair. Could you imagine how much money you would have if at the peak of the bear market, the low of the low, if when Bitcoin was at $17,000 and Ethereum was down at whatever, $1,200, and everything was smashed down to Polkadot was down at $3 or $4. Can you imagine how much money you're going to have in 2030 if you've got $1 million or $2 or $5 laying around that you can deploy back into the market? This is how we're going to create tens and hundreds and potentially. There's no reason, if you're watching this video today and you're 25, 30, 40 years old, you have the potential to be a billionaire by the time you're 60, 70 years old with cryptocurrency if you learn these strategies and you start to employ them properly, because the days of losing all of our money on the way down are over. Not only that, if you take $1 million, let's just say that we didn't have any of these strategies, you got your $1 million, you pull it out, you pay some taxes, you go out and maybe buy yourself a home, you buy yourself a car, you spend $200,000 or $300,000 on stuff, and then if you want to quit your job, let's say you're replacing a $50,000, $100,000 a year job, and you got $500,000. Well, by the time the next bear market plays out, your $500,000 is turned into a couple 100,000, and that's not a bad place to be in. Now you can deploy that couple 100,000 into the market and do relatively well during the next bull. But some people might not end up with any money back in the market if they go too crazy. But my point is, instead of taking $1 million and turning it into 200,000 and then investing that and having that going into the next bull market, we're going to take our $1 million and then we're going to turn it into $2 or $3 or $4 million during the bear market. And then when we ride the next bull market up, if you got $2 or $3 or $4 or $5 million invested during the lows of the next bear market, you should end up with $20, $30, $40 million by 2030. And that's one of the reasons that I say none of us are dreaming big enough. Like, most of us are staring at our computer screens going, man, if I had $1 million crypto portfolio, that would just be the bee's knees, man. I would never need another dollar again in my life. And I'm telling you, $1 million doesn't last very long. I'm a firm believer that back when I was a kid, I was born in 73. So in the 80s and the 90s, $1 million was a lot of money. The goal to be a millionaire was a lofty goal. And if you were a millionaire back then, you had the ability to live a pretty lavish lifestyle and really enjoy life. $1 million now is like $100,000 was back then. So really, $10 million is when I believe life really starts to get extraordinarily fun and you can really enjoy life the way that you deserve to. So, dream bigger. We have the potential to take these skills that we're learning. And that's why it's so important to go practice and play and get used to doing this on the way up. Not only are you going to make a bunch more money than you would if you just bought and hold, but you're going to learn the skills that are going to allow you to navigate the next bear market in such a fashion that you're going to make, you might make more money during the next bear market than you made during this bull market. It's very true. Like, a lot of you maybe have a hard time believing that, but a lot of the wealthiest, most elite people in the world absolutely crush during the bear markets because they've got some money set aside, they've got some strategies, they've got some skills that they've developed, they know how to play a down market. Most people can only make money in an up market. A sophisticated investor, a guy that knows what he's doing, can make more money in a downturn, and your money's worth more, because as your million turns into 2, 3, 4, 5, as Bitcoin runs from 250 back to 100, and all of these assets get slaughtered, there's going to be a lot of people that are like, man, I need to sell my house. There's gonna be potential to slurp up bargains. And can you imagine having the cash flow, the power, when somebody's got $1 million home and they got to sell it, it's going to get foreclosed on, and so they're willing to take 600 grand for it. Or they've got if you've got a dream of owning a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or whatever it might be for you, a Porsche, even just a Cadillac Escalade, whatever. You've got these people that went out during the good times and they wasted their money and they spent $300,000 on this supercar, and now they're broke and they can't afford the payments and stuff on it. And all of a sudden, you can swoop in and buy this $300,000 car for 175 grand. There's going to be a lot of stuff like that you're going to have the ability to do because you took advantage of not only the uptrend, but you also are taking advantage of the bear market. So with that, folks, we've been going for almost 2 hours. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you haven't hit that like button, please smash the like button for me. That helps the YouTube algorithm get this out to more people. Please share this video too. Like, right now is an incredible time to share this with your friends and your family and the people that you love. It's an opportunity where maybe they're more open-minded. And, something else that I didn't mention, let me tell you guys real quick. At 4 p.m. today, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I'm doing a live stream on the Blocks Tech token, BLOCX token, Blocks. It's a token that is a sponsor of the channel. I'm incredibly grateful to them. They've given me a couple $100 worth of tokens to give away during the live stream. So the only way that you're going to have an opportunity to win these tokens is to be on the live stream. And it's going to be simple to win them. I'm going to go through the comments and maybe ask a question, have people, whoever gets the answer correct, is going to win the tokens. For those of you that are curious, my birthday is July 30th. So if anybody keeps track of that, maybe that might be one of the questions that I ask. So I do want to reward those of you that were on this stream and that show up for that stream. So that might be one of the questions that I ask, but I'm going to give away 25 or $50 to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people. And this token, in my opinion, has some incredible potential. I've got a deep dive video recorded that's being edited, but I wanted to do this live stream to kind of get people excited about the deep dive. But I also wanted to do it because this token has taken a beating over the last few weeks. And I believe it's an absolute massive opportunity to DCA and to get in on this project. They've also had a couple of huge announcements come out since I recorded the deep dive. So they didn't get into the deep dive, and I wanted to make sure you guys had all of the facts so that you could go make your own decision. But once again, that's already in queue. So if you've got the notification bells turned on, subscribe to the channel, get the notifications turned on, you should have been alerted to that live stream. It's already been created. It's just sitting there in queue. So I hope that I see all of you today at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern for the blocks update and huge giveaway. So with that, folks, God bless you all. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Dave, for being here, man, and for the great questions. Deadwood, I appreciate you. And Eric Bernstein, I appreciate all of you. Daniel, every single one of you that was here. I know that there's a lot of you watching that aren't necessarily commenting or you know, saying anything in the group. So I don't see you, but I love each and every one of you. So with that, have a fantastic Tuesday. Excited about Microcap Gem Wednesday. One real quick here. I know I always say one more thing, but earlier in the stream, Dave talked about a few tokens here. And so there's going to be a lot of tokens that we go over tomorrow. You know, one of the things that Dave talked about, you know, the virtual everywhere. Let me see if I can scroll up here right now. Yeah, so here, you know, Dave said, you know, he's doing great. And right now it's AI agents on Sol or Base. And so virtuals are taking over. So one of the things, if you haven't noticed, folks, over the last couple of weeks, while the market has been getting crushed, a lot of these virtual tokens have been doing massive numbers. In fact, let me go over and show you something really quick. I know I said I was going to get rid of you, but this is important stuff, guys. There's always a way to make money. So even though the markets have been down and not very exciting to, you know, not very exciting over the last couple of weeks, take a peek at this. If my computer screen will load, let me make sure I'm on it here. Yeah, so I'm on a CoinGecko. For those of you that don't know, when you go to CoinGecko, you go up to the top of it here. If we just go to the home page, if you go over here to categories, so you scroll down just a little bit, you don't even have to go to categories anymore. It's just right here. AI agents. Watch this. Click on AI agents. We're going to go over some of these tomorrow, and I know Dave has several that he's excited about. Look at this, guys. Last 7 days, up 31%. Last 7 days, up 123%. Last 7 days, 100%. Last 7 days, 34%. Last 7 days, 83%. Last 7 days, 28%. You know, go down here a little bit here. Last 7 days, 198%. 198%, 108%, 76%, 21%, 194%. Now, obviously, they all haven't done extraordinarily. There's never going to be one segment where they all do extraordinarily. But look at those numbers compared to these numbers. Let's go back over here to just the top 100 tokens. Last 7 days, down 4%, 4%, down, up 1%. We scroll down the whole top 100. Here we go, 5.7 whole percent. Here's one, 19%. Everything else is in the red, 0.9%. That doesn't even account. Virtuals protocol is, you know, AI agents. So it's one of the ones that's up 34%. But look at this. While the whole market has been getting crushed off, AI agents have been making people a lot of money. So tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, we're going to do our Microcap Gem Wednesday live stream. I hope you guys can all be on it. I'm excited to have Dave share some of these tokens, and we're going to go over some stuff that we believe you can make some money on right now. Because, man, I'm all about the long term, the next 3 months, the next 6 months, absolutely incredible. But let's make some money right now, too. That's always fun. Like, we don't always got to wait 3 months or 6 months to have some fun and to make some money. So let's find some tokens tomorrow that we can go, you know, make 25 or 50 or 100% on in the short term, help us fund all of the other stuff that we want to do. So with that, folks, thanks for being here today. Have a fantastic day, and we will see you again tomorrow morning. God bless.